Welcome to EDCO's new Resource Check-In podcast, designed to give the Central Oregon community a glance into what resources are available during this crisis. We realize there is a no one-size-fits-all solution for your business, but we hope you walk away with some helpful tips to implement in your business. I'm Matt Hand with Hand in Hand Productions, and I'll be your moderator for today's discussion. Please welcome today's guest. I would like to introduce Tom Schnell, Business Finance Officer with Business Oregon, Zak Sundsten, VP and Senior Commercial Relationship Manager with Umpqua Bank and a member of EDCO's Board of Directors. So, gentlemen, let's dive into these questions. Let's talk a little bit about what programs continue to be available and possibly what options are new. So I'm going to start with you, Tom. If you could talk a little bit about what programs are currently available to businesses, that would be great.
You bet. So as of yesterday, the Paycheck Protection Program Round 2, or Stimulus Package 3.5, as we're calling it, came available, and the banks were able to open back up. And I think Zak will give us an update on that because I know he's been busy processing them. The Economic Injury Development Disaster Loan Program, the EIDL loan program, also became available yesterday. Although we've been checking the website, and we do not see where they've actually opened it up for applications. We do know that they are working through a backlog of applications that they had from a couple of weeks ago when they closed the program down. So we're still waiting to see what opportunities are available there. But really right now, the two loan programs that are out there are the Paycheck Protection Program that we got reinstituted yesterday, and then also the EIDL loan program that became available too. One other loan program that we are keeping an eye on that is in development is a local program through COIC that is designed to help small businesses in the Tri-County area. And that's going to be between a $5,000 to $25,000 loan. They're still coming up with the terms. They should have that pretty well solidified by Thursday, but we'll keep an eye out on that. And it's really for small businesses who are not able to get any other type of assistance. So if it's a small hair salon or restaurant or manufacturer that has, 5, 10 employees, and I don't know what the range is, so don't quote me on that. I'm just using that as an example. But let's say they weren't able to get funding through either the Paycheck Protection Program or through the EIDL loan program. The COIC is going to be making that loan program available for about between $5,000 and $25,000. So more to that to come.
Great. Thank you for that update, Tom. It sounds like that's something to definitely be looking for here in the future. Zak, I know this is for you, like Tom was just saying, round 2, or what we're calling 3.5. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of the programs that, and I'm assuming you are taking PPP applications at this time and what that sort of looks like?
Yeah, so it's round 2. Like Tom said, it came available again yesterday. Same with the EIDL, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, but it's still not showing up on the website that I've seen. That's pretty much all we're focused on here at the bank is that Payroll Protection Program. Currently, we're still working on the backlog of the applications that we have from the first round. So we've got those pretty much as processed as much as possible. In order to finish those, it has to go to the SBA's website through a process or a program called eTran. And through that is where you get assigned the loan number. So that's currently the bottleneck of where a lot of these built up applications that have been created. People out there are they might have applied 2 or 3 weeks ago and wondering where their application is. Most of those are probably sitting in that queue, ready to go, just waiting for the SBA to process their application and issue that number. The only other programs that we might touch on would be there's a debt relief program. So if you have an existing SBA 7A loan, I don't think it matters what lender it's with, but they're giving you the 6 months of no payments. That's automatic. And then if you don't get the Payroll Protection Program, there is a Payroll Tax Credit that's out there. I don't know a lot about that, but people can ask their CPA about that. And if they aren't successful with the PPP loan, you could ask about getting that.
And I think it's important for everybody to note that we are recording this on April 28th. And so things are very fluid at this point in time. So I'd like to ask, so Tom, Zak mentioned about they're working through the backlog. Do you know, as far as are other banks doing that same thing, or do you know if new applications are out there, what it kind of looks like for other banks out there, Tom?
You bet. We've been in contact with a lot of the other banks, and it really varies bank by bank and how they're handling it. So some of them are, for example, for like Zak with Umpqua, they're taking, working through the applications that they've had and receiving others. There are some that really aren't taking a lot of applications just because of as Zak mentioned, the backlog they have. So they're working through those applications. And others, some of them weren't even open or weren't doing them during the last round. And so they're actually taking new applications. What we did see on the site for the banks that are handling the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP loans, is that there are some additional banks on there that weren't on there on the first round, and also non-traditional lenders. I saw Craft 3 on there, along with a couple other lenders that potentially may be taking applications too. So they opened it up to some of the CDFIs and some of the economic development districts to also take the applications. So it really varies. I would just say if you have any questions, talk to your bank, because they're going to be the best source for this. They're the ones that are handling us. They're the ones that are the front line for it. And so the best answers for most of these questions are going to be talk to your bank. And then if you have any other questions beyond that, I would say connect with your small business development center, because they're also staying attuned to all of this also.
Let me ask, obviously it's just now begun, but timing as far as approvals, Zak, Tom, are we looking at the same sort of time frame, do you think? And what was that time frame before?
Yeah, time frame for approvals, I would say too that there's a couple different steps in the approval process. First, we get the application at the bank, we approve it internally, and then it has to go to the SBA, where the SBA approves it. There could be a couple of hangups, either with missing documentation or depending on what the answers are on the questions for the bank approval. And then once it gets to the SBA, little things could play a hiccup in that process of maybe the tax ID number not matching up or something like that. We're finding out there's myriad of little things that could throw a wrench in the gears, but the process for approving them, we're getting pretty streamlined at it internally. Then when it gets to the SBA, that's the bottleneck I was explaining, where it slows down. A lot of it has to do with the speed of the website, I think every bank is up against that. And we were hearing some banks out there might be using artificial intelligence to run the applications. Some of those might have gotten through a little faster than the manual process, but it all kind of depends. Like Tom was saying, it goes bank to bank. It's all a little different.
Yeah.
And I'd really piggyback on what Zak was saying too, and that is, it is so important that if you're applying for one of these things, to make sure that you have your information ready and that it's the correct information. So make sure that your tax identification number is correct and matches up to your tax returns. The other thing is to check with the Secretary of State to see what is the legal file name that you actually have, and make sure that you follow that name, that it is accurate. And so there's a lot of little things like that you can do. Make sure that when you come in that you have the appropriate, payroll information and rent information or whatever, utilities or whatever, so that you can actually, provide that information to them. The biggest thing that I'm hearing across the spectrum when people are applying and they didn't get accepted or they're getting rejected, it is exactly what Zak said, is most of it is that they didn't have the correct information or the information didn't match up. There's something along the line that kind of tripped it up. So the more information that you have that is accurate for the banker, it really helps them and it helps your process go through also.
A quick question. Obviously, this is the second go round, so we don't maybe have all of this knowledge yet, but how many, obviously it ran out fairly quick, but how many businesses, Zak, I think this is probably a question for you, how many businesses that you saw received final funding, and just a rough guess, if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. For our bank, our footprint's pretty good size. We're from the Canadian border down the Mexico border on the west side of the U.S. And right off the bat from the first round, I believe we received somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6,000 something applications. We got a lot of those through, and then with the ones that didn't make it because the funding ran out, and we kept through the process, we kept getting some more applications in the door, and working on those, we're expecting to get the second round, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, I think we have just over 4,000 pending applications in the queue right now that are approved, ready to go. So that just gives you an idea of, a bank of our size, how many we have that we're trying to process.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Question as far as other resources, and this might be more for you, Tom, but Zach, if you definitely have some ideas. I know, Tom, you mentioned the developing one that's coming on, but what other resources would you recommend businesses be seeking out? And does that include the pandemic unemployment assistance that I know just came live today?
Yeah, so that's one there, and I'll have to refer to some notes here, and really, because it's just hit today, and so I'm not an expert on this, but I'll just go off of what I've got here and definitely be willing to share that. And it's or for self-employed that are not subject to unemployment insurance tax. They may perform work as an independent contractor. They may perform work not subject to unemployment insurance tax, such as agriculture workers, did not earn enough in wages or work enough hours to qualify for regular unemployment benefits, and exhausted regular unemployment benefits and are not eligible for another extension. So a lot of this really applies for those that maybe weren't insured through the unemployment insurance. And so that just came out today, and you can actually just, if you're interested in that or think that you may qualify or may know somebody that may, what I'd recommend is that you go to the state of Oregon's employment department website, and underneath the CARES Act section, there is a link to the website on that, and you can go on there and you can actually file a claim online, or you can also print it off and either fax it or mail it, or you can email it. So there's a couple different ways to apply for that. But really what I would recommend is that if you have anybody that fits into that and is interested in the pandemic unemployment assistance, to go online and check that out further. The other thing is I think, Matt, you mentioned too, is just stay attuned, because things are changing so fast. Every time that we turn around, there's a new program. Like I mentioned, CRIC is coming out with their loan program.
What else you could do as a business owner would be reach out to your CPAs and just get more details on tax credits and other programs that they might know of. And like Tom said, with the unemployment benefits and everything with the payroll. The only thing I might add would be, I think, kind of looking ahead. We're going to get through this PPP loan situation. We're going to fund as many as we can. And the next question is going to be, how do we get those loans forgiven? Because that's ultimately what a lot of people on their mind is. They're taking out the loan with the assumption it's going to get forgiven. And just so we kind of have that out there, the final guidance for that forgiveness piece is not yet done. So we're expecting to hear that pretty soon from the SBA when they roll that out. But we have some rough guidelines right now from the CARE Act, but until we get the exact procedures on the forgiveness piece, that'll be the next thing to come out. So
okay. Great. Hey, Tom, I know I have one other thing for you. I know that when we've spoken in the past, you had some contact information. I was just going to show that just so that, if there's any more, as far as sort of a reference point, basically, there's some information that this is, again, through Business Oregon.
Right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to put that up as a resource for people.
And I appreciate that. So the OregonForBiz.com, we call that the Small Business Navigator page now. And so if you have any questions or need some links, definitely go on that. We keep that up real time, and it's constantly being updated and refreshed with new information. And so that's a great resource just to kind of go through and look through to see if there's anything in there that might be beneficial to you. It's got a lot of links to anywhere from the federal programs to the state programs to local programs. The Small Business Navigator hotline, what that is for is if you have a question that you can't get answered, to call in there and to ask. It could be from unemployment insurance to funding questions to pretty much anything related to how, with the business, as far as how do I get a business license, or, what are the PPE program requirements, the personal protection equipment, sorry about that, the PPE. And so any questions that you have like that you can't find the answer to, go ahead and call that hotline and they will try to find that answer for you.
Great. Gentlemen, is there anything else that you wanted to add before I let you go?
Nothing else I can add.
I would just really echo what Zak said, and that is times like this, don't hide from things. Really connect with your CPA, connect with your banker. I don't know how many times I tell people, I said, if you don't have a good connection with a bank, right now is a great time to connect with your relationship manager. I mean, Zak's a perfect example of that. He's a wealth of knowledge. He can work you through these programs, and also connect with the CPA to make sure that what you're doing makes financial sense also. There's a lot of things here that may have tax conflict, implications. And so really make sure that you have a good working relationship with both your bank and your CPA.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. And so thanks, Tom. Thanks, Zak. I want to thank you both for today's discussion. Remember, as a business, you're not in this alone. Please reach out to EDCO if you're in need of connecting to local resources or either of the two experts on today's podcast. And thanks for listening to this resource check-in. If you have any other topics you'd like to see discussed in the future, feel free to leave a comment on this video.